The Battle of Britain turned out to be the biggest air battle the world has ever seen, as it was fought almost exclusively in the air. From May to June of 1940, after capturing France in just 46 days, the eyes of the German war machine turned to England. Targeting British shipping convoys, ports, and factories as their initial strategy, the Germans expected to have just as swift a victory and hoped for a ceasefire, if not outright surrender. They had a whole other thing coming. For fighters, the planes facing off were Germany's Messerschmitt Bf-109s and 110s. And for bombers, they used the Dornier Do-17s, Henkel He-111s, and Junkers Ju-88s. They also used Stukas for dive bombing. On the English side, it was a mix of Supermarine Spitfires and Hawker Hurricanes, although contrary to popular belief, the latter did most of the heavy lifting. Though the numbers vary slightly depending on who's reporting, the general consensus for statistics of this battle are as follows. The Germans attacked having 2,550 available aircraft. The United Kingdom and participating allies, you can see them on the side here, had 1,964 serviceable aircraft for defense. Between July 10th and October 31st, 1940, when the battle took place, 2,585 German airmen lost their lives compared to 544 on the Allied side. This was mostly due to the fact that bombers have more than one person on the crew, and when they went down, they took more people with them. In addition, 925 Germans were captured. Another 735 were wounded, while only 420 Allied soldiers suffered injuries. As for equipment losses, the Germans lost 1,977 planes, and the Allies 1,744, which brought the total number of downed planes to 3,721. Now, think about this. Since the end of World War II in 1945, approximately 4,800 planes were shot down in over 50 subsequent wars and conflicts. That's only 1,000 more planes shot down in a span of over 75 years than in those 3 brutal months combined. Now, let that sink in for a minute. Despite the odds, the British held off the onslaught of the Luftwaffe and served Germany with their first major defeat, and although on May 9th, 1940, the German Panzer Corps plowed their way through French defenses in the Ardennes Forest, which was thought to be impassable by tanks. In just over 2 weeks, they cornered over 400,000 British and French troops holding the Belgian line and pinned them on the beaches of Dunkirk. Their home was just 22 miles behind them, and they had 800,000 German units in front of them with no way to escape. Winston Churchill, only 16 days into being Prime Minister, called the situation a colossal military disaster. He ordered what would become the biggest maritime evacuation of troops in history. At the time, the stranded troops represented over half of Britain's standing army, and they were sitting ducks. Churchill summoned all available military vessels to Dunkirk to launch the evacuation along with Belgium and France, estimating that only 45,000 troops could be saved before the rest were overtaken. Hearing that news, locals scrambled every available vessel, eventually assembling more than 700 to the rescue. They ranged from yachts to simple rowboats. Everybody wanted to help. During the next 9 days, the troops and rescue vessels were constantly attacked by numerous Luftwaffe fighters and bombers, even as they were trying to escape. They dropped 15,000 high-explosive and 30,000 incendiary bombs during that time. Now, think about this. That amounts to 5,000 bombs per day, 208 every hour, and 3.4 every minute if fired around the clock. The situation was dire. At the time, the RAF could only scramble about 16 squadrons to cover the escape. Equipped with Supermarine Spitfires and Hawker Hurricanes, they managed to shoot down between 80 to 240 Luftwaffe planes at a loss of 84 to 177 of their own. We know that's a huge discrepancy, but historical accounts vary by that much. They performed 171 reconnaissance missions, 651 bombing sorties, and 2,739 fighter runs. Although 338,226 soldiers were evacuated, the losses were somber. Approximately 68,000 Allied troops were killed, 6 Royal and 3 French destroyers were sunk, and close to 220 other smaller vessels were blown out of the water as well. It's crucial to mention the 35,000 French soldiers who remained unsaved on the beaches. They fought the then advancing Panzer Division to the last bullet to give others time to escape. All the heroic actions during those 9 brutal days became known as the Dunkirk Spirit.